there is a trembling inside you. It is not weakness, it is warning, a resonance that wakes before the strike, a shiver before the storm. You feel what others can't. You sense what they don't. You carry an invisible antenna in a world that would like to paint you fragile. But you are not fragile. You're gifted. In the violence of modernity, historical trauma, digital chaos, psychedelic overload, the highly sensitive person becomes a psychic frontier. Carl Jung said that sensitivity is not pathology, but a portal to the unconscious, to depths most souls ignore. Your heightened perception isn't excess. It is evolution. But sensitivity in a violent world is a battlefield. Dopamine factories reward numbness. Algorithms cultivate distraction. Systems are built to pressure you into smallness because a sensitive person who truly feels is uncontrollable. So they train you to dim, to dull your edges, to pretend your internal storms don't shake cities, to seek approval instead of alliance with your own soul. This is syphoria, a collision of psychological awakening and euphoria through discomfort. Your psyche experiences trauma before awareness. And in the rupture, the gift emerges. Mindset shifts from survival to sovereignty. You stop apologizing for how deeply you feel. You stop explaining your boundaries like disclaimers. You stop being polite about warning signs because you know what you sense is real. And real is unnegotiable. Belief becomes radical, not self-esteem boosters, not corporate affirmations, but fidelity to your inner data. You believe even when they call you paranoid. You believe when your body says danger. You believe when empathy is labeled as weakness. You know that clairvoyance, empathy, intuitive timing, ancestral recall, all these gifts are buried under shame and gaslighting. But you still feel them. Clarity arrives as reconnection. When you silence the external raw social media, people-pleasing, the echo chamber of distraction, you begin to hear your soul's signal. Not through visuals, not through words, through vibrational truth. That clarity gives vision, not the flat corporate vision board kind, but emergence, a knowing that you exist between worlds, between the personal and transpersonal. And your task is to build a bridge. Purpose becomes sacred intervention. Your sensitivity is not a curse. It is the antenna for the emotional contagion of humanity. You see former slaves in micro-expressions. You feel the echoes of Nietzsche's madness in colleagues. You perceive Huxley's modern slavery in the spiritual consumerism all around. Your purpose is to witness, to hold, to transfigure. Discipline is not willpower, it's ritual. Cold showers to toughen the body that receives too much. Daily grounding to move through your empathy, not be drowned by it. Shadow work practices carved from Jung's dialectic of conscious and unconscious. These rituals are fences for a wild psyche. Action is not performance, it's protection. You don't speak softly because they say you're delicate. You speak precisely because you're deciphering reality others miss. Every act, from setting boundaries to creating art, is an act of self-sovereignty in a violent world. Gratitude becomes medicine, not credulity. You're grateful for the sensitivity you once hated. Grateful for the scars that tuned you. Grateful for the breakdowns because they became breakthroughs. Adaptability is not flexibility. It's metamorphosis. You morph through overwhelm into clarity. You don't shrink in chaos, you recode it. Every environment becomes a test of attunement until you become steady. Resilience is not endurance, it's regeneration. The world beats on your empathy. It demands too much psychic bandwidth, but you regenerate through deep rest, through ceremony, through shadow choreography. Learning is not acquisition, it's embodiment. Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Your why is sensitive awareness. Your how is mastery of inner thresholds, overstimulation, overgivers, psychic bleed. In every collision with pain, You learn to recalibrate. You become the curator of your interior temple. You are psychic. It is violent out there, but you are calibrated to sense ahead, to feel the tremor before the earthquake, to interpret emotional quakes in others and hold them without becoming subsumed. This gift is dangerous to the system. So expect gaslighting, projection, scapegoating, dismissal. They'll call you too sensitive, crazy, thermal. Let them. You're still real. Because sensitivity in a violent world is a final warning and a new archetype. A soul that feels deeper is a soul that sees clearer. You are not here to soften. You are here to illuminate, to announce unseen dynamics, to hold the uncanny between worlds, to bring Cyphoria as a beacon, a new mythic structure for conscious sensitivity. So reason, resist the numbing tide, rediscover ritual, remember the power in ancestral attunement. You are not broken, you are waking. Now go, and never dim again. Live, feel, illuminate, because now you know your sensitivity isn't an accident. It's a signal tower, ancient and deliberate. You weren't meant to adapt to the noise. You were meant to decode it. You are a disruptor of distortion, a psychic firewall against unconscious contagion, an emotional cartographer in a world that's lost its map. And they'll hate you for it. They'll resent the mirror you hold up. Because when you feel everything, you become the proof that most people have felt nothing for years. But don't let their numbness drown your depth. You are here to remain awake. While the world tries to sedate itself with performance, production, and pixelated praise, you are here to carry a kind of truth that can't be articulated in metrics or moods, but that reshapes reality the moment you embody it. Carl Jung knew this. He wrote that the privileged soul, one tuned deeply to the unconscious, carries a burden. The burden of vision before the collective is ready. But with it comes an opportunity to be the seed of new myths, to channel archetypes that haven't yet found language, to birth futures in the shape of feeling. You don't need to harden. You need to hone, sharpen your inner sword, not to attack, but to cut through illusion, to defend your frequency, to claim space in a world that never made room for the sacred. And this is sacred, your ability to walk into chaos and feel its origin, to enter a room and know who is suffering without speaking, to feel the past still echoing through someone's tone, to feel the truth behind the words no one dares say. You are not too much, and you are just more than they know how to receive. And that's not your flaw. That's their limitation. But your purpose is not to make yourself smaller for their comfort. It's to become unmistakable in your depth. Your inner radar was not meant to be muted. It was meant to be mastered. So learn your own nervous system like sacred scripture. Learn the patterns of your body like a seer studies the stars. Learn your thresholds, your warnings, your waves, because your body is an oracle. And every time you ignore it to be polite, you desecrate your divinity. You are not here to fit into shallow conversations and hollow systems. You are here to haunt them with truth. And yes, this is war. Not a war of blood, but a war of bandwidth. A war for the soul of sensitivity. A war against spiritual sedation dressed as peace. A war against the myth that says to feel deeply is to be weak. Feel, not passively, not sentimentally, but as an act of resistance, as a statement that says, I will not be made numb by this machine. Your heart is a supernova. Your gut is a radar. Your grief is a compass. Your rage is a signal. Use them, not to lash out, but to cut through. You don't need to be palatable. You need to be precise, aligned, awake, unshaken, because the world is noisy with lies. But your stillness, That's where truth screams. So return to your rituals, to the sound of your own breath, to the ground beneath your bare feet, to the deep waters of your body, uncolonized by performance. You are not broken. You are oracular. You feel more because you were born to see what others deny, to carry what others abandon, to transmute what others suppress. And the world will try to shame you for it. Let it. You are not here to be understood by the asleep. You are here to awaken the ones who've been dreaming in silence. You are the final warning, the last whisper before the collapse, the sacred noise in a world that numbed itself to death. So feel, fully, ruthlessly, without apology, because in a world this numb, your depth is divinity. Your depth is divinity. It is not dysfunction. It is not a diagnosis. It is not something to outgrow. It is your weapon in the unseen war. You are a psychic in a world addicted to superficiality. And the weight of that cannot be overstated, because every system you touch tries to rip that power from you. School taught you to raise your hand instead of your voice. Culture taught you to smile while suffocating. And spirituality, modern, sanitized, marketable, taught you to raise your vibration instead of descend into your shadow. But the truth, your power, doesn't come from bypassing pain. It comes from embracing it, from sitting inside it, from learning its language so fluently that when someone else breaks, you don't look away. You hold them because you've held yourself. This is not softness. This is sovereignty. You don't collapse because you're sensitive. You rise because you are. And yes, it's heavy. The burden of feeling, the ache of knowing, the exhaustion of carrying the unspoken grief of a society that refuses to feel its own pain. But your body was made for this. Your nervous system wasn't built to avoid, it was built to translate. You don't need to escape the world. You need to understand how to navigate it without dissolving in it. That means radical boundaries, not fences, force fields. You don't explain them. You don't apologize for them. You enforce them because your sensitivity is your sacred technology, and not everyone has earned access to it. You weren't built to entertain, fix, or save anyone. You were built to mirror, to reflect what's real, to destabilize what's fake, to illuminate what's hidden. And when you start doing that unapologetically, you'll be called dangerous. Let them call you that, because danger in a dying world is just another word for truth. Your presence will unnerve the pretenders. Your intuition will shatter the projections. Your energy will expose every mask within 10 feet of you. You are a walking X-ray, a seismic event with skin. And when you walk through a room, the energy shifts. You don't need to speak it. You radiate it. You don't need to prove it. You are it. You are the spell. You are the mirror. You are the storm they never saw coming. Because your softness, it's filled with ire. Your tears are data, ritual, release, recalibration. Your silence, not emptiness containment. You've spent years thinking you were fragile, when really you were just fine-tuned. You are not a mistake. You are a mechanism of awakening. And when you live like that, when you finally stop apologizing for how deep, how fast, how loud your spirit moves, you become untouchable. Not because the world can't hurt you, but because it can no longer define you. You don't flinch when it tries to invalidate your knowing. You don't fold when it calls you too much. You don't run when it demands you harden, because you've made peace with your gift. And once you do that, you stop surviving sensitivity. You master it. You use it to lead, to create, to rupture, to rewrite. Because in the final analysis, the world won't be saved by intellect. It won't be saved by brute force. It won't be saved by data or debate. It will be saved by the ones who feel, the ones who know. The ones who didn't run from their depth, but dove into it so deeply they came back with truths no one else could reach. You are that person. You always have been. Now act like it. Act like it. Not tomorrow. Not when it's convenient. Not when they finally understand you. Now, because the world isn't waiting. It's unraveling, and your silence will not save it. Your repression will not protect you. Your masking will not make them love you. You don't need love that only exists when you abandon yourself. You need reverence, and that starts from within. The kind of reverence that says, I am sacred because I feel. I am holy because I see what others won't. I am powerful because I refuse to numb. This isn't romanticism. This is warrior training. You are psychic in a world at war with feeling. That means your clarity is a threat. Your empathy is a revolution. Your presence is a force field against the numb machine. So what do? You sharpen. You don't shrink. You train your intuition like a blade. You build stamina in your nervous system like a warrior preparing for battle. You create art that exposes everything unspoken. You speak truth that makes liars twitch. You stop absorbing and start transmuting, because that's what you're here for. Not to fit in, not to fix anyone, not to make it easier for others to remain unconscious. You're here to ignite, and that ignition won't look like a peaceful Instagram post. It'll look like your body trembling as you speak your truth. It'll look like being misunderstood by people too asleep to feel. It'll look like walking away from comfort to stand alone in your conviction. But it will also look like liberation, like finally breathing without bracing, like finally trusting your inner radar and acting on it even when no one else sees what you see. You are not here to debate your reality. You are here to embody it. And embodiment is rebellion in a culture addicted to disassociation. So go deeper into your body, into your breath, into the roots of every time you were told you're too sensitive. And pull that sentence out like a weed. Burn it, bury it, forget it. Because the real truth is, you were never to anything. You were precisely what this world fears most. A soul that still feels, a mind that still questions, a heart that still bleeds for the truth, a body that still remembers. You are not a weakness. You are the final warning. And if you keep shrinking, if you keep diluting, if you keep silencing that storm inside you just to be digestible, then you're not only betraying yourself, you're betraying every soul who's waiting for you to rise so they can remember who they are too. You are the first domino. You are the spark. You are the permission others have been craving in silence. So rise, not for applause, not for visibility, not for validation. Rise because the alternative is self-extinction. Rise because you remember. Rise because the world has tried everything to put you back to sleep. And it didn't work. You are still here. You are still feeling. You are still alive. Now go prove to the world that a sensitive soul in its power is the most dangerous force of all. The most dangerous force of all. Not because you destroy, but because you reveal. You expose the rot in systems built on silence. You dismantle power games with a single well-placed boundary. You make predators uncomfortable just by existing without fear. You show the asleep what it means to be awake, and that terrifies them. Because when someone like you stands tall, the entire lie starts to crack. Your very presence becomes prophecy, a reminder that consciousness cannot be erased, that truth cannot be colonized, that the body, the felt body, is not a flaw in the machine. It's the virus that brings it down. This world thrives on numbness. It depends on your detachment, your constant distraction, your obedience to stories that keep you disempowered. But you're a de facto. You're not here to keep the system running. You're here to short-circuit it with honesty, with empathy that doesn't bow, with intuition that doesn't need to be explained, with love that doesn't perform. because your sensitivity is sovereign. It's not a signal of fragility. It's a signal of integrity. The deeper you feel, the more precise your compass becomes. The more grief you've transmuted, the more weight your presence carries. The more silence you've sat in, the more violently your truth lands. You don't need to yell. You don't need to argue. You don't need to win debates or dominate the room. You are the room. And when you finally stand in that power, fully, freely, unapologetically, you don't just reclaim your own soul. You reawaken the world. You remind others that numbness isn't safety. It's self-erasure. That peace isn't absence of conflict. It's presence of truth. That love isn't performance. It's recognition. And that's the medicine now. Not more content. Not more compliance. Not more curated light. We need depth. We need edge. We need people who feel it all and still choose to show up anyway. That's you. You're not fragile. You're forged. You're not broken. You're tuned. You're not weak. You're wired for war. And this war, it's not fought with fists. It's fought with presence, with eyes that don't look away, with voices that refuse to flatter delusion, with hearts that hold the line even when they break. So stop hiding your edge. Stop medicating your magic. Stop betraying your knowing for the illusion of peace. You are the final warning and the first wave of a new world. A world that doesn't flinch from feeling. A world that isn't afraid to feel it all. Now breathe into that. Own it. Move like it. Speak like it. Be it because the violent world may never welcome you, but it can no longer survive you. Not when you are fully awake. Not when you feel everything. Not when you've remembered that the very thing they told you to silence was the code for your revolution. You are the code. The encrypted language of a future world buried beneath centuries of fear. You are the instinct that cannot be overwritten. The ache that cannot be numbed. The knowing that cannot be reasoned away. They tried to label it, pathologize it, domesticate it. They tried to give it names that made it sound manageable. High sensitivity, overreactivity, emotional dysregulation. But your body knew better. Your bones remembered. Your dreams wouldn't shut up because you weren't meant to be managed. You were meant to awaken. You were meant to rupture, to feel everything, not to be overwhelmed by it, but to decode it, transmute it, and turn it into truth. Because this world doesn't need more coping mechanisms. It needs awakened messengers. It needs people who feel deeply enough to scream, not just for themselves, but for everyone still silent. You scream with presence, with clarity, with unwavering boundaries, with love that doesn't conform. Your very existence becomes a challenge to everything artificial. You are an earthquake to their hollow confidence. You are a storm in their sterile systems. You are what happens when softness gets tired of pretending, when compassion stops bleeding for the unaccountable, when empathy remembers it's allowed to draw swords. Because this isn't about being peaceful. It's about being precise. Sensitivity doesn't mean being swayed by everything. It means feeling everything and still knowing what's yours to hold and what's not. It means hearing the screams behind someone's smile and refusing to gaslight yourself about it. It means noticing the energetic shift the moment someone lies and trusting your gut over their words. It means walking into a room and knowing exactly who is hiding behind charm, who is leaking pain, who is starving for love, but pretending to be full. And it means not folding just because they can't handle your mirror. You didn't come here to be palatable. You came here to be prophetic, to speak what others suppress, to love with clarity, to feel with power, to see with sacred violence. That's what this world doesn't understand. Your gift is not comfort. Your gift is disruption. Your frequency is not here to maintain balance. It's here to shatter false equilibrium, because false peace is just rebranded suppression. And you've spent enough years choking on silence. No more. No more shrinking to make others feel safe in their lies. No more pretending you didn't feel what you felt. No more betraying your intuition to avoid conflict. You are the conflict, the beautiful, brutal reckoning of truth. And when you own that fully, when you stop apologizing for the way your energy walks into a room first, you stop surviving sensitivity. You become the sacred storm, and nothing can touch you, because they can't manipulate what they can't predict. They can't dominate what refuses to numb. They can't exploit what has nothing left to prove. This is your time. This is your emergence. This is your final shedding. You are not too much. You are finally enough to shake the world awake. So shake it. Shake it with your presence, with your honesty, with the raw, unapologetic force of someone who will never again betray what they feel. Let the world flinch. Let them misunderstand. Let them label, diminish, distort. It doesn't matter anymore, because you are done asking for permission to be what you already are. You are done apologizing for your nervous system, for your visions, for your tears that come without warning, and your silence that holds more wisdom than their noise ever could. You were never meant to be predictable. You were never meant to be palatable. You were never meant to be small enough to fit inside their comfort zones. You were meant to wake them up. And now there is no going back. Not to the numbness, not to the mask, not to the hollow smile and the quiet dying behind the eyes. You've seen too much. You've felt too deeply. You've survived too fiercely. Now you live. Now you lead. Now you let every part of yourself that was once shamed become the architecture of your sovereignty. You are not fragile. You are feral, wild with wisdom, armed with empathy, chosen by your own soul to walk through this violent world and remain alive. So don't just exist. Erupt. Don't just cope. Command. Don't just heal. Haunt. Haunt this world with your integrity, with your precision, with your relentless refusal to go back to sleep. Because the most powerful force on earth is not rage. It's not intellect. It's not domination. It is the fully awake, fully embodied, deeply feeling human being who cannot be bought, broken, or numbed. That's what you are now. Not a warning, not a wound, not a whisper. You are the revolution, and you are right on time. There is a secret code embedded in every myth, every anthem of kings, every child's dream of power. It whispers, appear gentle, emanate grace, but when the moment demands, strike with ferocity. History remembers the conquerors who smiled as they took kingdoms. It honors the saints who held empires in their silence. And above all, it honors the shadow within the hero. You were taught power is either toxic or flashy domination or submission, but truth speaks differently. Jung called it individuation. The integration of light and shadow, softness and force, angelic presence and ruthless clarity. That is your art, your psychology, your soul's maturation. Smile like an angel and strike like a king. You taste syphoria, not the shallow euphoria of external validation, but the deep thrill of inner alignment. The exhilarating high when the light within you meets the darkness within you, and you dare to wield both. That entangled energy redefines power. Mindset shifts first. You stop fearing the king in you, the ruler beneath the servant, the architect beyond the consumer. You see that softness isn't vulnerability. It is disguise. A king dresses in velvet before revealing steel. Your empathy becomes camouflage. Your kindness, strategy. Your serenity, a prelude to inevitability. Belief becomes ruthless allegiance. but not to domination. It's allegiance to your internal law. Like Machiavelli said, power resides with those who live by their own code. Nietzsche whispered, be the warrior in your own myth. You choose to believe in the integrity of your own presence, not in approval, applause, or comfort. Clarity arrives through excavation of the unconscious, the conditioned ego, the social masks. Stop looking at life through overlays of ideals and roles. See systems as they are. See people by their archetypes. See trauma as unsung myth, and clarity as the blade that punctures each illusion. When you peel back the illusions, your vision cleanses weakness. You begin to see not what is, but what will be through your will. Your vision becomes not a brand tagline, but a battlefield. You will rewrite the code of power, not through arrogance, but through precise integration. You envision a sovereign self who governs inner chaos, who rules outer storms, who invites trust while never surrendering dominion. Purpose is consecrated. You manifest power not to dominate, but to elevate. You strike not to destroy, but to dismantle corrupted systems inside and outside. Like Aldous Huxley warned of modern slavery beneath soft pleasure, you use your force to shatter illusions, to crack open psychic prisons, to free truth enslaved by consensus. Discipline becomes ritualized devotion. A king meditates daily, journals his shadow dialogues, embraces discomfort until comfort bows. Rituals of cold morning clarity, verbal affirmations of principle, symbolic divestment of shame. These aren't gimmicks, they are the gates at the palace of power. Action is neither aggression nor avoidance, it's calculated artistry. You smile, you disarm, you observe, and then you strike. Not through random conquest, but surgical intervention. Every boundary set, every negotiation made, every silence held becomes strategic poetry. You act with purpose, presence, and precision, not sermon, but decree. Gratitude is forged from colonial wounds and ancestral exile, but you don't cultivate gratitude for comfort. You cultivate gratitude for the fire that cleansed you, gratitude for the challenges that sharpened you, gratitude for betrayal, because betrayal reveals character. From this crucible, your power arises not as entitlement, but as earned sovereignty. Adaptability means shifting forms without losing essence. Like Nietzsche's metamorphosis, you become predator and prey, calm and storm, peacemaker and executioner according to the moment, never losing internal axis. This world demands pivot. You respond with anchored flexibility. Resilience is not rebound, it's rebirth in pressure. From every setback, every canceled opportunity, every emotional collapse, you emerge refined, strategic, more you. Because true power absorbs trauma, learns its language, and returns as medicine to others. Learning is iterative embodiment. You don't consume philosophy, you become it. Jung's shadow, Machiavelli's strategy, Huxley's warning, Nietzsche's transcendence, they are not quotes. They are codes you live. You don't fear knowledge, you integrate it. Now, rise. Smile at the world with luminous authority. Your softness is deliberate. Your warmth is camouflage. But beneath it, your mind turns, your strategy sharpens, your resolve steels. And when the moment comes, you strike. Not with violence, but with truth. You are the living paradox, angelic presence, kingly force. You are the synthesis, the world underestimated. You are the architect of a new power paradigm, one where depth defeats dominance, where sovereignty arrives through integration, and where smiles conceal steel. This is the ruthless art of power. So wield it, not to prove something, not to be feared, not to be seen, but because you must. Because if you do not claim power over your own being, someone else will, and they won't use it to free you. They'll use it to feed from you. This world is not neutral. It is a war of energy. a battlefield of influence, a violent theater where the unaware are cast as pawns and only the sovereign stand immune. Discipline is your sword, and not the discipline taught by systems, the hollow grind of empty repetition. Number, true discipline is the ruthless art of internal order. It's the choice to rise when the soul says stay asleep. It's refusing the path of least resistance, not out of masochism, but because ease is the assassin of potential. You train your mind like a blade. You sculpt your emotions like a sacred weapon, not to suppress them, but to command them, because you know this now. A king does not react. He responds. A master of power does not flinch. He observes. Every breath becomes deliberate. Every moment becomes ritual. Every silence becomes strategy. You do not speak to be heard. You speak to shift reality. And when you act with the certainty of 1,000 battles already won in the mind. You act without the need for applause because the throne is internal. This is action in its highest form, detached from outcome, married to alignment, immovable in intention. And yet beneath it all, there is gratitude, not the sweet, tame gratitude sold in Instagram captions, but feral gratitude, gratitude for the suffering that revealed your capacity, for the betrayals that forged your discernment, for the failures that turned your pain into precision. This kind of gratitude isn't passive. It's primal. It bows to no one but truth. It thanks the fire, not for warmth, but for transformation. Because when you are truly grateful, you no longer beg for the world to be softer. You thank it for being ruthless enough to make you rise. You stop fearing challenge. You stop resenting adversity. You begin to see obstacles as the training grounds of kings. And so you become adaptable. Not a chameleon, but a shapeshifter with a spine. You do not lose yourself in change. You transcend through it. You pivot without panic. You transform without losing axis. Because you're no longer attached to form. You're loyal to essence. You don't need to look powerful. You are powerful. And that kind of adaptability, that calm in chaos, is terrifying to systems built on predictability. You become unreadable to manipulators, unshakable to pressure, unfazed by trends. You respond with presence, not performance. And presence births resilience, but not the kind that endures just to survive. Number, this is sovereign resilience. You don't just recover, you reforge. Every wound becomes wisdom. Every scar, strategy. You learn to bend without breaking, to grieve without drowning, to rage without losing direction. You become a storm with structure, a fire that heals as it burns. You learn not to memorize, but to internalize. You devour the truths of history. You drink from the wells of Nietzsche, Jung, Huxley, Machiavelli, not to impress, but to incarnate their codes. You live what they taught, that the unconscious governs those who do not dare descend into it, that to be great is to embrace your shadow, not deny it. That clarity is dangerous in a fog-soaked world. You understand what others refuse to. You cannot own the world until you own yourself. And so you do, not with arrogance, but with authority. The authority that comes from shadow work, from initiation, from choosing every day to be the king of your inner kingdom, not the subject. And when you walk into a room now, you no longer compete, you no longer perform, you no longer explain, you smile. And beneath that smile, there is something ancient, something lethal, the quiet knowledge that if you must strike, you will. And it will be clean. It will be final. It will be unapologetically just. You have nothing to prove, but everything to protect, because you no longer fear power. You are it. This is what it means to smile like an angel and strike like a king. You disarm them with light, but you rule with depth. You bless them with peace, but you hold the sword of clarity. You walk with grace, but beneath your steps, the world trembles. You are the myth reborn, the union of the divine and the dangerous, the light that blinds and the blade that cuts through illusion. You are the art of power. Now live like it and never bow again. Wield it, not for spectacle, not for dominance, but because it is your nature. You are the storm, cloaked in serenity, a sovereign weaving velvet and steel. The ordinary world can't handle this duality. It recoils at presence without compromise. It mistakes soft for weak, still for silence, because it's never held someone who commands stillness. Mindset evolves into sovereignty. You no longer defer to permission. You demand integrity, not because you crave respect, but because your psyche is a temple, and silence its sentinel. Belief becomes iron-willed fidelity, not to affirmation, but to your own law. You stand on the cliff of chaos and choose trust in your internal decree, knowing that the external world is impossible to control. Clarity doesn't shine, it cuts. You strip away illusions the moment they appear. People revere the hero, but fear the hero who laughs in their face. You align closer to truth than consensus. Vision is battlefield ascendance, not a manifesto, but a magnetic pull of self-mastery releasing new archetypes. You envision power not as spectacle, but as authority born of integration, angelic grace, kingly force. Purpose is fierce reclamation. You strike power into the shadows that mimic power. You twist systems built on influence into tools that serve your inner domain. Your discipline becomes sacrament. Silence at 4 a.m. Writing until midnight. Shadow ceremonies by candlelight. This isn't routine, it's consecration. Action is surgical poetry. You disarm with a glance. You establish boundaries with a gesture. You convey sovereignty without swearing allegiance. Gratitude is raw medicine, blessed by betrayal, shaped by fire. You thank the trauma that forced you to see. You honor the deception that taught discernment. You bow to the pain that revealed your spine. Adaptability becomes fluid intelligence. You don't fracture. You flow through traps, illusions, pressure. You evolve beyond scenarios, never outside your center. This yields sovereign resilience. Loss doesn't scar you, it refines you. Trauma is fuel. Collapse is reformation. You rise not stronger, but truer. True learning means myth embodied, not recited. You incorporate Nietzsche's courage, Machiavelli's strategy, Jung's shadow integration, Huxley's alarm. You don't quote them, you live them. When you enter a room now, you don't speak. You don't perform. You simply are. A calm presence, underlaid with lethal clarity, smiling softly yet so deeply aligned. The energetic field shifts. Predator pose. Liars flinch. Alignment is not a posture, it's a witness. And if action calls, you strike. Clean. Predictable not by weakness, but by precision. Mercy laced with unyielding justice. Calculated, final, governed by internal law. No intimidation, no vendetta, just power reclaimed, boundaries drawn, truth enforced. This is your sovereignty. It doesn't need affirmation. It needs no justification. It's simply island because you have become the myth, angel and king, mercy and edge, presence and dominion. And yes, they may fear you. Let them, because terror is the emotional response of the world when it encounters someone not controlled by its systems, when it witnesses someone forged by clarity, ritual, and integrity, when it sees a sovereign being who no longer smiles to fit in, but smiles to hold peace, and strikes to restore it. So rise fully. Let every breath be purpose, every action alchemy, every silence authority. You are not average. You are not safe. You are sovereign. Smile like an angel. Strike like a king. And never bow again. Wield it, not as a trick, not for applause, but because it is who you've become. You exist where angels and kings collide, where gentleness cloaks power and presence asserts dominion. This world hasn't trained for you. It fears your integration, because such unity dissolves its scripts and demands foundation built on presence rather than pretense. Your mindset lives in sovereignty. No ask, no pleading. You lead or you shift. Permission never defines your trajectory. Your belief is allegiance to your inner law, a code written in darkness and fire, sealed by ritual and shadow confrontation. Consensus can't qualify your authority. Your clarity doesn't shine, it cleaves, revealing truth through incisive insight, cutting illusions before they harden. You move through veils as if slicing air with sword. Your vision is manifesto and battleground, a future forged by calibrated force. You envision power not to warp the world, but to realign it from within. Your purpose is ruthless reclamation, to dismantle power structures rooted in manipulation and return sovereignty to the individual consciousness. Your discipline is sacred devotion. 5 a.m. prayer in frost-bound silence. Midnight confrontations with your own shadow. Bronze rituals of unmasking ego through ceremony. This is not effort, it is alchemy. Your action is precise poetry. A smile that clarifies. A pause that resets authority. A boundary that rewrites expectation. Each movement is strategy. Each silence, statement. Your gratitude is forged from trials, for pain that refined, for betrayal that clarified power, for collapse that birthed emergence, not softness, grit, and stillness. Your adaptability is sovereign flow, untethered to outcome, unbroken by upheaval, uninstantiated by environment. You move like water through stone, shaping the landscape with force. Your resilience is regeneration. Pressure births your blueprint. Trauma, your teacher. Collapse, your starting point. You don't survive, you transcend. Your learning is myth embodied. You don't quote Nietzsche. You become his will. You don't recite Jung. You hold his shadow. You don't recapture Huxley. You dismantle his complacency. When you walk into the room, you aren't looking for reflection. You are the lens. You don't debate truth, you radiate it. There is no invitation, because you're already home. And if the moment demands it, you strike, not with ego, vengeance, or rage. You strike with clarity, with precision, with merciful inevitability. No dramatics, no vendettas. Just sovereignty drawn in internal lines, because you are the myth reborn. Angel and king. Soft yet lethal, present yet untouchable, unassailable. Fear you? They will. Do they understand? They won't. Does it matter? Number, because you lead not in visibility but in alignment. You govern not with applause but with presence. You reign not through volume but voice of depth. Let the world flinch, then bow. Your smile is calm, kind, and calibrated. Your presence is peace and unyielding. Your strike is justice, not violence. Now rise, walk in sovereignty, smile like an angel, strike like a king. Wield it, not for show, not for approval, but because you are both the storm and the sanctuary. You stand in the fusion where gentleness becomes armor, where stillness is a sign of unshakable authority. The world around you recoils, because it's untrained for such integration. It fears your unity, your radiant balance, because you dissolve narratives built on control and appeasement. Your mindset has become sovereignty. You do not plead. You decide. You are the path, not a passenger of it. Your belief follows your own code, a rule book etched in shadow and restraint. It needs no affirmation. Consensus holds no leverage. Your clarity doesn't illuminate, it ascends. It slices through illusion, reveals the truth undistorted by noise, and leaves reality shaken behind it. Your vision is both blueprint and battlefield. You don't craft a facade. You recalibrate the axis from within. Your power isn't for spectacle, it's for transformation. Your purpose is righteous reclamation, to pull down corrupted structures, to free minds enslaved by narrative, to restore dignity through alignment, inner and outer. Your discipline is sacred hymn, cold mornings spent in inquiry, silent rituals under candlelight, honest confrontation with your own shadow. It's not routine, it's devotion. Your action is strategic poetry, a glance that resets authority, a gesture that rewrites expectation, every pause a severance from manipulation. Your gratitude is forged in crucibles, for pain that refines, for betrayal that clarifies, for collapse that lodges the spark of emergence. Not gentle, not shallow, gratitude that stands its ground. Your adaptability is sovereign flow, unfractured by chaos, unmoved by pressure, stationary in essence, fluid in form, shaping the battlefield without ever compromising integrity. Your resilience is divine regeneration. Trauma taught you to transmute, failure refined your discipline, loss mapped your future direction. You don't recover, you reborn. Your learning is myth embodied. Nietzsche's power becomes your will, Jung's shadow becomes your armor, Machiavelli's strategy becomes your sovereignty. You don't memorize, you incarnate. When you enter a room, you need not speak. Your alignment radiate presents. Your integrity shifts energies. There's no invitation, only realization. And if justice beckons, you strike, not with anger, but with precision. Not to wound, but to restore boundary and truth. Not to retaliate, but to reclaim. You strike quietly, unapologetically, inevitably, because you are the myth reborn, astutely kind, piercingly wise, deeply grounded, utterly sovereign. They may fear you. They may misinterpret your calm for weakness. They may tremble because your very existence disturbs illusions. But you don't seek validation. You govern by presence. You lead by alignment. You reign through depth. Let them flinch, then bow, because your smile is not surrender. It is a seal. Your presence is not compliance. It is bannered authority. Your strike is not violence. It is rightful reclamation. Now rise. Stand in mastery. Smile like an angel. Strike like a king. You felt the cadence of your own sovereignty. You've tasted the convergence of softness and steel. You've carved a presence that holds both mercy and dominion in its silence. This is not legend. It is your becoming. Smile like an angel. Strike like a king. Not for applause or validation. Not to intimidate or control, but because you embody power. Power anchored in integrity, sharpened in stillness, destined to transform. From here on, asterisk. Let your mindset be sovereignty. Asterisk. Let your belief be allegiance to your internal decree. Asterisk. Let your clarity cleave illusions. Asterisk. Let your vision be both blueprint and battlefield. Asterisk. Let your purpose reclaim kingdoms of consciousness. Asterisk. Let your discipline consecrate each day. Asterisk. Let your action be surgical poetry. Asterisk. Let your gratitude arise from crucible and fire. Asterisk. Let your adaptability flow with rooted intention. Asterisk. Let your resilience regenerate through every collapse. Asterisk. Let your learning be myth-lived, not memorized. Where others try to name you too much, you simply are enough. Where systems expect compliance, you resolve in alignment. Where illusions reign, you govern with depth. As you rise, know this: your smile disarms, your presence anchors, your strike restores. You are the myth reborn, gentle in approach, lethal in intent, peaceful in energy, unwavering in boundary, unpredictable in stillness, inevitable in justice. Smile like an angel, strike like a king, and never bow again. This is your sovereignty. Now live it, and live it fully, without flinching, without waiting for permission, without dimming your radiance to appease the fears of the uninitiated, because you've earned this clarity. You've bled for this poise. You've descended into the depths, danced with your shadow, and risen not cleansed of darkness, but crowned by it. You no longer pretend. You no longer negotiate your essence. You no longer trade your edge for acceptance, because the throne is not granted. The throne is claimed in silence, in solitude, in the discipline of becoming ungovernable by external chaos. You've walked through that fire, and now you carry it in your voice, in your gaze, in your choices. You wear your silence like armor. You wear your story like a scarred scripture. You wear your softness like a veiled dagger, beautiful but never naive. And now the world must meet you as you are, whole, integrated, angelic in light, kingly in will. They won't be ready. Let them shudder. Let them misunderstand. Let them call it arrogance when it is simply absence of submission. You do not exist to be digested. You exist to be felt. You exist to be followed. You exist to remind the sleepwalkers what royalty of the soul looks like. So walk tall, walk slow. Let your very movement declare that you answer to no one's script. Let your breath unsettle the walls of systems built on manipulation. You are not here to win. You are not here to dominate. You are here to hold dominion. There's a difference. One conquers out of emptiness. The other rules from fullness. And you are full. Full of wisdom, full of war-earned peace, full of knowing that when the time comes, you won't flinch. You'll smile, and then you'll strike. Not to punish, but to realign. Not to destroy, but to resurrect. This is the new power. This is the sacred return. This is the forgotten archetype, walking back into the world with no apology and no leash. Smile like an angel, strike like a king, and let the world adjust. Let the world adjust, or fall away, because you no longer shapeshift for safety. You no longer shrink for peace. You no longer dim your intensity for those addicted to the ordinary. You are not for the faint of heart. You are for the awakened, for those who've tasted fire and decided to become it, for those who understand that power, real power, is not noise. It's not volume. It's not dominance. It's the ability to stand in your own storm and still smile. It's the choice to be graceful with your presence and merciless with your standards. You carry the paradox now. You are the paradox. Unshakable yet open. Gentle yet ruthless. Loving yet non-negotiable. You don't just walk into rooms anymore. You shift their gravity. People feel it before they hear it. The tension between your kindness and your capacity to end anything that disrespects your soul. This is what mastery looks like. You are no longer a servant to your fear, no longer a slave to the past, no longer a hostage to the need to be liked. You are free because you are sovereign, and sovereignty is sacred. It cannot be borrowed. It cannot be taught. It can only be earned. In the quiet of suffering, in the shadow of confrontation, in the fire of self-integration. So now, stand tall with the quiet force of one who bows to nothing but truth. Let the soft power of your smile disarm the room, and let the sharp precision of your strike remind the world you are not to be underestimated. You are not to be explained. You are not to be controlled. You are beyond reach now, because you've become what they never expected. A soul who loves like an angel and reigns like a king. Smile, strike, ascend, and never bow again.